It's something Boris Johnson said he would rather die in a ditch than do. Now his government says he will ask Brussels for a further delay to the Brexit deadline if no deal is agreed by October 19th. The revelation came in government documents submitted to a Scottish court examining a Brexit-related case. A law pushed through by opposition MPs obliges the Prime Minister to seek an extension if no deal is found by the end of this month. The message in the document has taken EU leaders, including Ireland's Leo Varadkar, by surprise.
And the European Union. My preference is that we come to an agreement, that we have a deal in the middle of October, and we can then begin the negotiations on the future relationship and the free trade agreement. As I've always said, Brexit doesn't end with the UK leaving, it just moves to the next phase of negotiations. So my preference is that we have that agreement at the Council in the middle of October. But if the UK Government were to request an extension, I think we would consider that. Of course we would consider it. But I think most EU countries would really only consider it for a good reason.
European leaders are studying Johnson's latest plan for a Brexit deal, but it's thought unlikely they'll accept it. Conflicting signals from Downing Street on a possible Article 50 extension certainly aren't helping negotiations. Neil O'Reilly, Euronews.
For some reaction, let's speak now to British Labour MP Stephen Doughty from Cardiff in Wales. Stephen, thanks for joining us on Euronews here. Do you think the government under Boris Johnson is being sincere here?
I don't think they are, and I think you see this repeatedly in Boris Johnson's behaviour over a long period of time. There's a lot of people who believe that his proposal that he's put forward is simply a sham and that he doesn't actually intend to negotiate in any serious fashion. It's certainly clear to me that the proposal that's on the table now is not acceptable. You know, creating two borders around Northern Ireland where currently there exists none, forcing the rest of the Great Britain, England, Scotland and Wales into a hard Brexit. And a whole series of other unacceptable proposals, a veto for the DUP, customs proposals that don't work. You know, this proposal he's put forward simply doesn't work. And it is very revealing that, despite all of the sound and fury coming from Boris Johnson, that the court documents reveal that the Ben Act, which I was involved in supporting, very much does require him to seek an extension if a deal has not been reached. So obviously there is a chance for a deal to be reached, and a deal is going to have to form part of any future steps forward on Brexit. But of course, it has to be a credible deal. It has to be a workable deal. And what's on the table at the moment simply is not.
What for you would be a workable deal? Because going through your record, you voted against all three of Theresa May's deals. So what would it take for you to sign up for a deal to come out of the European Union?
I think there are two things for me. There were some very helpful discussions going on in the latter days of Theresa May's premiership around her deal, but with guarantees on things like workers' rights, environmental rights, labour standards, a whole series of other guarantees to ensure that we didn't see Britain, the UK, fall into some sort of Singapore-on-Thames situation, a race to the bottom on regulation, which would be disastrous both for the UK and its industries and our workers, but also, I believe, for the European Union. So the basis of the Theresa May deal with some additional guarantees on, but crucially for me, a guarantee that this deal would go back to be confirmed by the British people. Because I believe the only way forward that would actually satisfy both Parliament and indeed the British people and draw a line under this whole sorry saga is for a credible deal to be put back to the British people with the option to leave, accepting that deal, something that works for both the UK and the European Union, or to keep the deal that we've got.
But none of those options have got or commanded a majority in the House of Commons, even when that was put forward to them about holding a second referendum. I mean, Labour's position on this is quite confusing. What would Labour push for in the event that Boris Johnson then says he's not going to have an extension, he's not going to seek one? What would your party do?
Well, Labour's got a very clear position now, which is that we believe that there should be a confirmatory vote on any credible Brexit deal. And obviously, I would favour that we had that referendum, we had that vote on a deal, we drew a line under it before we moved forward with other prospects such as a general election. But of course, if there were to be a general election, Labour has a very clear policy that we would put any deal back to the people after that election. So for me, Labour's position is very clear. And I think that's where the majority of people are now moving in Parliament. You mentioned the votes in Parliament before, but let's remember that a confirmatory vote actually was only 12 votes short of commanding a majority itself in Parliament. And that was many, many months ago. And I know that many colleagues, both on the Labour and Conservative sides, now believe that plus a credible deal is the way forward to end this crisis.